In the previous part, Naruto Uzumaki awakened the legendary Rinnegan at birth, a power that should have been impossible for any child to possess. As the years passed, his abilities grew far beyond those of ordinary shinobi, catching the attention of powerful figures across the ninja world. After becoming the Academy's strongest student and successfully joining Team 7 under Kakashi Hatake, Naruto finally began his journey as a true shinobi. Now, on his very first real mission outside Konoha, Team 7 is about to face a threat unlike anything they've encountered before. A threat that will show them the brutal reality of the ninja world. The moment Zabuza Momochi appeared, the atmosphere changed completely. The playful mood of Team 7 vanished as a crushing wave of killing intent swept across the area. Sakura froze in fear, Chizuna's face turned pale, and even Sasuke felt his body stiffen under the pressure. This wasn't an academy instructor or a bandit. This was a veteran assassin who had spent years killing shinobi stronger than most jonin. Naruto could feel it through his Rinnegan. Zabuza's chakra was enormous, dark, and refined through countless battles. Kakashi calmly stepped forward and lifted his forehead protector, revealing the Sharingan beneath his left eye. The sight immediately caught Zabuza's attention. A grin spread across the missing nin's face as he recognized the legendary copy ninja standing before him. What was supposed to be a simple assassination mission had suddenly become much more interesting. Without another word, Zabuza attacked. The battle exploded into motion. Water dragons roared across the river while powerful water techniques shook the surrounding forest. Naruto watched carefully as two elite jonin clashed at a level he had never witnessed before. Every movement contained years of experience and deadly precision. For the first time, Naruto understood how vast the gap between himself and true masters still was. The fight seemed evenly matched until Zabuza successfully trapped Kakashi inside a water prison jutsu. In an instant, the situation turned disastrous. Kakashi was immobilized, Chizuna was defenseless, and Zabuza's water clone rushed toward Team 7 with murderous intent. Sakura immediately moved in front of Chizuna while Sasuke prepared to fight. Naruto's mind raced as he analyzed the battlefield. Charging recklessly would accomplish nothing. They needed a strategy. The water clone attacked first. Sasuke barely managed to block the massive sword. The impact launched him backward through several trees. Before the clone could continue its assault, Naruto stepped forward. His Rinnegan activated instantly. A powerful gravitational force erupted from his hand. The clone's movement slowed. For a brief moment, Zabuza's clone found itself struggling against an invisible force. Naruto took advantage immediately. Several kunai shot toward the enemy from different angles while Sasuke attacked from the side. Working together, the two genin managed to pressure the clone long enough to create an opening. For the first time, Zabuza looked surprised. These weren't ordinary genin. Meanwhile, Naruto noticed something important. The original Zabuza couldn't move while maintaining the water prison. If they could force him to release it, Kakashi would be free. Naruto quickly shared his plan with Sasuke. The two launched their attack together. Naruto used his gravitational abilities to alter the trajectory of their weapons while Sasuke provided the precision needed to execute the strategy. To Zabuza, it appeared as though the attacks were aimed directly at him. The missing nin was forced to release the water prison to avoid being hit. The instant Kakashi escaped, the battle changed. The copy ninja returned to the fight with renewed determination. This time, he dominated the battlefield. Using his Sharingan to predict every movement, Kakashi gradually overwhelmed Zabuza's techniques and copied them with terrifying accuracy. Eventually, victory seemed certain. Then needles suddenly appeared from nowhere. Several struck Zabuza's neck. The missing nin collapsed instantly. A masked hunter nin appeared moments later and claimed responsibility. According to him, Zabuza had been a rogue criminal from the Hidden Mist, and his body would now be taken for disposal. The explanation sounded convincing. Too convincing. As the masked figure disappeared with Zabuza's body, Naruto felt something strange. His Rinnegan sensed life. Very faint. But still present. Zabuza wasn't dead. Naruto glanced toward Kakashi and realized the Jonin had reached the same conclusion. However, neither of them said anything. The battle was over. For now. As Team 7 continued toward Tezuna's home, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was merely the beginning. Somewhere ahead, both Zabuza and the mysterious masked shinobi were waiting. And next time, they would be prepared for Team 7's abilities. The Land of Waves mission was becoming far more dangerous than anyone had expected, and Naruto's journey as a shinobi was about to take its first truly deadly turn. Naruto couldn't stop thinking about the battle with Zabuza. Even though Team 7 had survived, the encounter exposed a harsh truth. Against elite shinobi, talent alone wasn't enough. The gap between a genin and a veteran killer was enormous. As they settled into Tezuna's house, Kakashi made a decision. If Zabuza returned, his students needed to be stronger. The next morning, Team 7 followed Kakashi deep into the forest. Without explaining much, he demonstrated chakra control by walking up a tree. Sakura mastered the exercise almost immediately, while Sasuke began improving through sheer determination. Naruto, however, experienced something unusual. The moment he focused chakra into his feet, his Rinnegan allowed him to see the exact flow of energy throughout his body. What normally took shinobi weeks to perfect became effortless for him. Within minutes, Naruto was running up trees, jumping between branches, and performing advanced chakra control exercises that should have been impossible for a genin. Even Kakashi was surprised. He knew Naruto was talented, but this level of growth bordered on absurd. The Rinnegan wasn't simply making Naruto stronger. It was accelerating every aspect of his development. Days passed as Team 7 trained relentlessly. Sasuke pushed himself harder than ever, refusing to fall behind. Every time he improved, Naruto seemed to advance even further. Their rivalry became the driving force behind their progress. Neither wanted to admit it, but both were becoming stronger because of the other. One afternoon, while training alone near the river, Naruto decided to experiment with his abilities. Closing his eyes, he concentrated on the strange power sleeping within the Rinnegan. The familiar gravitational force responded immediately. Rocks lifted from the ground. Water from the river rose into the air. Trees bent under invisible pressure. Then something changed. For a brief moment, Naruto felt a completely different power awaken. The surrounding chakra seemed to flow toward him. Not gravity. Not attraction. Absorption. The energy around his hand vanished as if being consumed by an unseen force. Naruto immediately released the technique. His heart was racing. The ability had felt different from everything else he had used before. Dangerous. Ancient. As if he had touched only a tiny fragment of something much greater. Before he could investigate further, another presence entered his sensory range. Someone was watching him. Naruto turned instantly. Standing atop a nearby branch was the masked shinobi who had supposedly killed Zabuza. The figure remained silent. Neither moved. Naruto studied the stranger carefully through his Rinnegan. Beneath the mask, he sensed kindness, sadness, and loneliness. None of the emotions matched those of a ruthless assassin. The stranger finally spoke. "You've become stronger." Naruto narrowed his eyes. "So have you." A small laugh escaped from behind the mask. For several moments, neither attacked. It felt less like two enemies meeting and more like two people trying to understand each other. Eventually, the masked shinobi looked toward the distant bridge. "The next time we meet, we'll be enemies." Then he disappeared into the forest. Naruto stood there for several seconds after the stranger left. He couldn't explain why, but something about that person felt familiar. Not familiar in appearance. Familiar in spirit. Someone carrying pain. Someone living only for another person's dream. As evening approached, Team 7 returned to Tezuna's house. The atmosphere was lighter than before. They had trained hard, grown stronger, and begun to believe they could handle whatever came next. Unfortunately, fate had other plans. Far away, construction workers suddenly began screaming on the unfinished bridge. A cold wind swept across the water. The mist was returning. And hidden within that mist were two shinobi preparing for a battle that would decide the future of the Land of Waves. This time, Zabuza Momochi wasn't underestimating Team 7. And Naruto Uzumaki was about to discover just how cruel the ninja world could truly be. The morning sky was covered by dark clouds as Team 7 arrived at the Great Naruto Bridge. A thick mist rolled across the water, reducing visibility with every passing minute. Construction workers had already fled the area, leaving only the sounds of crashing waves and distant thunder. Naruto immediately sensed two familiar chakra signatures hidden within the fog. Zabuza Momochi and the masked shinobi were waiting. Kakashi stepped forward while Team 7 formed a defensive position around Tazuna. Unlike their previous encounter, nobody underestimated the enemy this time. Both sides understood exactly how dangerous the other had become. The silence shattered as Zabuza emerged from the mist, his massive sword resting across his shoulder. His eyes locked onto Kakashi. "You've improved your students," he said. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. "You noticed." Without another word, the two Jonin vanished. The bridge exploded into chaos. Water dragons collided in midair. Powerful shockwaves tore across the structure. Sections of concrete cracked under the force of their techniques. Naruto could barely follow their movements. Every exchange happened faster than most shinobi could perceive. Meanwhile, the masked hunter Nin appeared directly in front of Team 7. Sasuke immediately recognized him. "You." The masked shinobi nodded silently. The battle began. Senbon needles shot through the air with deadly precision. Sasuke dodged several while Sakura protected Tazuna from the remaining attacks. Naruto joined the fight seconds later, forcing the masked ninja backward through a combination of taijutsu and gravitational manipulation. For the first time, the stranger's calm demeanor began to crack. Naruto was much stronger than before. The masked ninja responded by activating a powerful ice release technique. Crystal mirrors formed around the battlefield. Dozens of reflective surfaces surrounded Naruto and Sasuke from every direction. The demonic ice mirrors. Naruto immediately understood the danger. The enemy moved between mirrors at incredible speed, launching Senbon from impossible angles. Even with the Rinnegan, tracking every attack became difficult. Sasuke fought desperately. Needles pierced his arms, then his legs, then his shoulders. Blood stained his clothes as he continued protecting Naruto from attacks he couldn't fully avoid. For the first time, Naruto felt genuine frustration. No matter how powerful his eyes were, he couldn't land a decisive hit. The enemy was simply too fast. Then something unexpected happened. Sasuke awakened his Sharingan. A single tomo spun within his eyes. His perception instantly improved. The battle shifted. Working together, Naruto and Sasuke slowly adapted to the mirror technique. Every second they survived allowed them to gather more information. But Haku was adapting as well. The attacks became faster, more precise, more dangerous. Eventually, Naruto noticed something. The masked shinobi wasn't aiming for fatal wounds. Every attack avoided vital points. Every strike seemed designed to disable rather than kill. The realization stunned him. This enemy wasn't trying to murder them. He was trying to end the fight without unnecessary bloodshed. Unfortunately, the battle was reaching its limit. Haku understood that Naruto's growth was becoming dangerous. A decision had to be made. The mirrors accelerated. Hundreds of Senbon filled the air. Sasuke suddenly stepped in front of Naruto. The attack struck. Time seemed to freeze. Needles pierced Sasuke's body from every direction. The Uchiha collapsed. His breathing slowed, then stopped. Naruto stared in disbelief. The world became silent. For a moment, he couldn't process what had happened. His rival, his teammate, the person who had pushed him forward since the academy, had fallen protecting him. Something deep inside Naruto cracked. Pain, anger, loss. The emotions surged together. And somewhere behind the seal, Kurama opened his eyes. For years, the Nine Tails had quietly observed the boy with the legendary Rinnegan. Now, for the first time, Naruto's emotions reached a breaking point. A crimson chakra began leaking from his body. The mist trembled. The bridge shook. Even the demonic ice mirrors started to crack under the pressure. Haku froze. Because the chakra surrounding Naruto no longer felt human. It felt like a monster awakening from a long sleep. Naruto slowly raised his head. His Rinnegan glowed brighter than ever before. And mixed with those divine eyes was the terrifying power of the Nine Tails. For the first time in history, the Rinnegan and Kurama's chakra were about to combine. The bridge trembled beneath Naruto's feet as crimson chakra erupted around his body. The air itself seemed to grow heavier. Every crack in the concrete widened, and even the raging wind slowed as if the world was reacting to the awakening of something ancient. Haku stared in shock. He had expected grief. He had expected anger. What he hadn't expected was this overwhelming fusion of power. Naruto slowly lifted his head. His Rinnegan glowed brighter than ever before. The purple ring spun with divine intensity while Kurama's chakra wrapped around him like a living flame. For a brief moment, two legendary powers that should never have existed together merged into a single terrifying presence. Every shinobi on the bridge felt it. Even Kakashi and Zabuza stopped fighting. What is that? Zabuza muttered. For the first time in years, genuine fear entered the demon of the mist's eyes. Naruto stepped forward. The bridge cracked. A wave of pressure exploded outward. Haku's ice mirrors shattered instantly. Hundreds of crystal fragments scattered across the battlefield like shattered glass. The masked shinobi leapt backward, trying to create distance, but Naruto was already in front of him. Not through speed. Through gravity. The space between them seemed to collapse. Haku barely raised his guard before being struck. The impact launched him across the bridge, smashing through several support pillars before finally stopping. Everyone froze. The power difference had become overwhelming. Naruto stared at the fallen shinobi. His breathing was heavy. His emotions were unstable. Kurama's chakra continued pouring through the seal. At the same time, the Rinnegan reacted to that chakra in unexpected ways. For a brief instant, Naruto saw something strange. A massive figure standing behind Kurama. An old man holding a staff. A pair of Rinnegan looking back at him. The vision lasted only a second before disappearing. But the message was clear. The Sage of Six Paths. Somehow, the power sleeping within the Rinnegan had begun responding to Naruto's connection with the Nine Tails. The realization sent chills through him. Before Naruto could process what he had seen, a loud scream echoed across the bridge. Everyone turned. Several of Gado's mercenaries had arrived. Dozens of armed criminals rushed toward the battlefield from the far side of the bridge. At their center stood Gado himself, laughing arrogantly. The shipping tycoon had no intention of paying Zabuza. Now that both sides were weakened, he intended to eliminate everyone. Zabuza stared silently. Years of service. Years of bloodshed. And in the end, Gado viewed him as nothing more than a disposable tool. The realization ignited something inside him. For the first time, Naruto saw genuine emotion behind the assassin's eyes. Anger, regret, pain. The same emotions he had sensed within Haku. Slowly, Zabuza lifted his massive sword. Without a word, he charged. The bridge became a battlefield once again. Despite his injuries, Zabuza cut through mercenaries like a storm. Every swing of his blade sent enemies flying. Even after being stabbed repeatedly, he continued moving forward. Gado panicked. The confidence vanished from his face. For the first time, he understood the monster he had betrayed. Moments later, Zabuza reached him. The bridge fell silent. The tyrant of the land of waves was gone. As the remaining mercenaries fled in terror, Zabuza collapsed to his knees. Nearby, Haku slowly removed his mask. Naruto looked at him in surprise. The face beneath wasn't that of a ruthless killer. It was the face of a lonely boy. A boy who had sacrificed everything for someone he cared about. Naruto finally understood. Haku and Zabuza weren't simply enemies. They were a family. Broken. Flawed. But still a family. As rain began falling from the dark clouds above, silence spread across the bridge. The battle was over. The land of waves was free. Yet Naruto's thoughts remained fixed on the vision he had seen. The old man with the Rinnegan. The Sage of Six Paths. And the strange feeling that his journey had only just begun. Far away, hidden within a dark cave, another pair of Rinnegan suddenly opened. Nagato slowly stood from his throne. He had felt the surge of power. And for the first time, he realized the second Rinnegan user wasn't merely a child anymore. He was becoming a threat. A threat that could one day surpass even the gods themselves. The Land of Waves celebrated long after the battle ended. For the first time in years, the people could look toward the future without fear. The bridge that Tazuna had fought so hard to build was finally completed, becoming a symbol of freedom and hope for an entire nation. As workers and villagers gathered to honor those who had sacrificed everything, Naruto stood quietly at the edge of the bridge, staring across the ocean. The victory felt different from what he had imagined. He had saved people. He had protected his friends. Yet the faces of Haku and Zabuza remained in his thoughts. Before leaving, Naruto visited the place where the two shinobi had been laid to rest. The wind blew gently across the graves as he stood in silence. He understood now that the ninja world wasn't divided into heroes and villains. People fought for dreams, for survival, for the people they cared about. Haku had given his life for Zabuza. Zabuza had avenged Haku despite knowing it would cost him everything. Their choices had changed Naruto forever. The journey back to Konoha was much quieter than the journey out. Sakura was relieved to be heading home. Sasuke spent most of the trip training whenever they stopped to rest. Ever since awakening his Sharingan, he had become even more determined to grow stronger. Naruto noticed it immediately. Their rivalry wasn't ending anytime soon. As Team 7 crossed the gates of Konoha, the guards welcomed them home. To everyone else, it looked like a routine mission had ended successfully. Only Kakashi knew how much his students had changed. The three children who had left the village were not the same shinobi returning. Their mission report quickly reached Hiruzen Sarutobi. The third Hokage listened carefully as Kakashi explained everything that had happened. The battle with Zabuza, Haku's ice release, Sasuke's Sharingan awakening, and Naruto's power. The room became silent. How strong? Hiruzen finally asked. Kakashi paused. Much stronger than before. The answer was simple, but the concern behind it was obvious. Hiruzen stared out the window toward the village. Naruto's growth was accelerating. Too quickly. The Rinnegan had already made him exceptional. Now it was beginning to evolve alongside Kurama's chakra. Nobody knew what that combination might eventually become. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the village, another pair of eyes was watching. Danzo. The root leader had received his own reports from hidden agents stationed throughout the mission. His interest in Naruto grew stronger than ever. A child with the Rinnegan, the 9 tails, and enough potential to rival legendary shinobi. Danzo viewed it as an opportunity. One day, he believed Naruto could become Konoha's ultimate weapon. If he could be controlled. Naruto, however, was completely unaware of the political forces moving around him. For the first time in weeks, he enjoyed a peaceful evening at Ichiraku Ramen. Sitting on his favorite stool, he devoured bowl after bowl while Tsuki laughed at his endless appetite. Everything felt normal again. Until a strange sensation passed through his Rinnegan. Naruto froze. For a brief second, he sensed something. Someone. A powerful chakra signature far beyond the village walls. Then another. And another. The feeling vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Naruto frowned. The chakra wasn't familiar. Yet it felt dangerous. Very dangerous. Hundreds of kilometers away, hidden within a dark cave illuminated by strange statues and flickering shadows, several figures gathered. Orange hair. Black cloaks decorated with red clouds. Cold eyes filled with ambition. Akatsuki. Nagato sat at the center of the meeting. The 9 tails remains in Konoha, he said calmly. The cave fell silent. Most members expected another discussion regarding tailed beasts. Instead, Nagato continued. There is something else. His Rinnegan glowed. A second bearer of these eyes exists. Shock spread throughout the organization. Even Itachi Uchiha looked up. For years, everyone believed Nagato possessed a power unique to the world. Now they were learning the impossible. Nagato slowly opened his eyes. And he is getting stronger. Far away in Konoha, Naruto stood beneath the night sky, staring at the moon. He couldn't explain why. But for the first time since awakening the Rinnegan, he felt as though unseen eyes were watching him from the darkness. And somewhere beyond the horizon, destiny was beginning to move. The next chapter of Naruto's journey would not be about simple missions or training. It would be about the Chunin exams. And the enemies already taking an interest in the boy with the eyes of a god. Naruto had returned home stronger than ever, but the hidden leaf wasn't the only place watching his growth. Deep within the shadows, powerful enemies had begun taking notice of the boy with the Rinnegan. As the Chunin exams approach, new rivals, hidden threats, and dangerous secrets are about to enter Naruto's life. And this time, the battle won't just be for victory, it'll be for the future of the entire shinobi world. What happens when the strongest genin in history enters the Chunin exams? Find out in the next Part 3.